Hi, good morning. Happy Saturday, everyone. My name is Rio Almaria, and I am one of the admission representatives for the College of DuPage. Today, we will be talking about the next steps to the enrollment process. This is a session that is intended for high school seniors that will be looking to start COD. Hopefully, everyone who is enrolled in this session has already applied. So what we're going to be sharing will be the information that comes after completing your COD application. We will be having a Q&A session after this, but we will be able to allow you to ask your questions in the Q&A feature of the webinar. So please be aware that we will have our cameras off until we're speaking, and that throughout the presentation, if you have any questions that come up, please use the Q&A information feature as opposed to the chat feature to ask those questions. So the steps to enrollment. Again, hopefully by now, everyone that's in this session has completed their COD application. After completion of the application, you would have received a welcome email letter. That welcome email letter is really important because it provides three really key things: your COD ID number, your link to My Access, and your link to the College of DuPage email. We're going to be talking about the steps that you see on the screen, from what you do with that welcome email to financial aid and scholarships. We'll be discussing the importance of submission of transcripts and test scores and how that's taken into account at a community college and how it differs from us versus a four-year university. It's going to be those pieces of testing and placement tests that will allow you to meet with a counselor who will help you pick out your classes during your time at COD. And there will be navigators that will be assigned to you based off of your areas of study that will be able to help you navigate through the whole time you're here at COD. And then for students who have IEPs and 504 plans, we have the Center for Access and Accommodations, who will be able to go over what types of accommodations can be provided for you once you have arrived to COD. And then, we'll discuss payments and payment plan options, as well as our introduction to student life at COD through our new student orientation program. So first step, again, within that welcome email, you would have received your COD ID number and the link to create your My Access account, which looks like this. You want to make sure that if you haven't done this already, to go onto the My Access website and check on the area where we have circled on the screen where it says I'm new to My Access, or reset your password. Especially if you're new to My Access, you want to set that up and use the combination of your COD ID number and your last name to be able to receive your user ID. The user ID is going to be some version of your last name and first initial. Sometimes if it is a more common combination, there might be a series of numbers that will be included at the end. So the My Access account is going to also allow you to create a personalized password once a temporary password was sent to your personal email. Once you have your username and the personal password that you create, you'll be able to access multiple websites that will be critical for enrolling to COD. So this is how setting up your My Access username will look like. Again, last name, student ID number, and once you submit it, a temporary, you'll be able to see on the next screen what your user ID will look like. So My Access, again, is a universal login for College of DuPage students. This will allow you to look at your academic profile. You'll check your financial aid status by using My Access. This is also key because this is how College of DuPage will be providing official communication to you. The College of DuPage email is going to be a login based off of your My Access username and password. And again, My Access includes features such as registering for classes, student payment information, and if you are a student that will be looking to enroll into a health science program in the future, the health science application is a feature that you will find within the My Access portal. So next, the My Access username and password is going to be used as the login information to your College of DuPage email. The email for COD is through Outlook. So there is a separate website that you can access your College of DuPage email account. And the website looks like this. It gives you in the center what the login will look like. As I've mentioned, My Access is the universal login for everything COD related. However, for the email account, you must include the @dupage.edu during login. So you'll be able to go into the Outlook account, use your username and @dupage.edu with the password, the personal password that you created, and then you'll have access to the College of DuPage official email. So next up, we're going to talk about how financial aid works, especially since we've talked about the email. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Luis and Jennifer, who's going to do financial aid shortly. But Luis, let's use this time to also introduce some of the student ambassadors. Student ambassadors, they are probably the most recent individuals that have actually gone through this process. So Luis, is there, if you can share some tips for students as we get the financial aid presentation set up, that would be important for students to hear in regards to setting up the My Access and the email and all of the next steps.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've been here for almost 3 years now at the college, and something that I found a lot of importance in is constantly checking both your email and your My Access, because My Access, you're going to be able to do a lot of different things there. You're going to be able to choose your classes, check up on any financial aid documents they need to turn in, maybe check like your schedule as well as any books that you're going to need for your classes. So basically all the information that you are going to need for your success here at the college, it will be through My Access. And also it is very important to keep checking your student email, because your student email is where your professors are going to send you emails through, is where you're going to get information about the college, about like updates or just anything that you need to know about the college, again, to be successful or to get any, information that you need. But again, my name is Luis. I'm one of the student ambassador captains here at the college, and I do have 3 other student ambassadors here with me. I have Ian, Ellie, and Austin. And and then as well, we have Jennifer Stewart, who works in a financial aid office, and she will get started with her presentation.
Okay. Hi, thank you, Luis. So yes, my name is Jennifer, and I am one of the financial aid reps here at College of DuPage. So I just want to briefly go over some of the financial aid aspects, what you should be doing, this month and the next couple months to get you ready and prepared for when the fall semester begins. So if you have not done so already, your first step is to file that FAFSA application. So the free application for federal student aid. You can complete it online at studentaid.gov, or you can download the app. There's a My Student Aid app that encompasses all things federal student aid. So not just filing the FAFSA, checking your financial aid history and so on. If anybody is looking to start school early, so if you're going to be an early graduate and start in our spring semester next month, or if you're looking to take an early jump and do summer classes after you graduate from high school, you'll want to make sure that you complete the 2021-2022 FAFSA application, because that one is effect for this current school year. If you're going to be starting in fall, so for our fall 2022 semester that begins in August, you want to make sure that you're completing the 2022-2023 FAFSA application, because that begins the next school year. Now, you will see when you file the FAFSA that we are looking at income from 2019 and 2020. Well, 2020, as we all know, that's when COVID hit, and a lot of things changed for families, household, especially income. So if there has been a change in income from 2020 for you or your parents, so if a parent was let go, job closed, downsized, furloughed, any change to the income, you're still going to file the FAFSA based on whatever is showing up on the 2020 income tax return. When we contact you to let you know that we've received your results, at that time, you can request what's called a professional judgment. And I'll talk briefly on that a little bit more in the next couple slides. Now, there is also an alternative application for Illinois financial aid. This application is specifically for students that are either undocumented or fall under DACA. So to file the FAFSA to qualify for federal and state aid, you do need to be either a US citizen or an eligible non-citizen. So if you are not a US citizen, if you're not an eligible non-citizen, so again, if you're undocumented under DACA, you can fill out this alternative application for Illinois financial aid through ISAC, so through the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. It basically collects the same tax information, the same household information as the FAFSA. The only difference is this alternative application is only sent to the state of Illinois to process for their one grant, which is called the Illinois MAP grant. So unfortunately, it doesn't open up for any type of federal aid, but it at least opens up the door to potentially be eligible for that Illinois MAP grant. So the Illinois MAP grant only covers fall and spring. So again, if you're an early graduate and starting in spring, you can complete the 21-22 alternative application. If you're going to be starting in fall, you do the 22-23. And again, the income is still going to be the same. Now, I did mention if there was a change in income, these are the different categories that we could do a potential adjustment if there's been a change in family income. So usually the main one that we're looking at is the first one. There's been a reduce in work earnings. So if parents' income was a lot higher in 2020 and than it is now because of letting go, downsize, maybe they were fired, maybe they were furloughed. There are things that we can do to potentially adjust the income information on the FAFSA, but you need to reach out to our office. So again, what I would recommend is still submit the FAFSA as is. Once you get the email from us confirming that we received your results, at that time, you can request what's called a professional judgment form from our office to let us know that there's been a change in the family income. Now, if you need help filing your FAFSA, we do have some virtual sessions set up for this month, Friday, December 10th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. or Thursday, December 16th, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. You can sign up for a 45-minute session. We do them through Zoom, so you do them one-on-one. You would sign into the main Zoom room, and then we would send you to a breakout room where you can talk individually with a financial aid rep. We also have financial aid webinar series that we did this semester, and we'll be doing new ones in the spring. These will give you more in-depth information if you're looking on, loans. You want to know more about loans, or you want to know more about how financial aid is used to pay for tuition, how financial aid is used to pay for books. So what you can do is you can scan our QR code, and it'll take you to our events page where you can view the FAFSA completion sessions as well as the webinar series. We will be having more FAFSA completion sessions in January. We're just kind of waiting to see what our schedule is going to be like, but right now we have those two remaining in December. Now, Rio talked a little bit about My Access. From a financial aid point of view, this is your My Access student menu. You want to make sure under financial aid, you click on financial aid self-service. That's where it'll take you to a checklist of where you are in the financial aid process. So you'll see on this one, the year we have selected is 21-22. So if you log into your My Access right now, click on financial aid self-service, it'll show that there's no application submitted. Again, that's because we're only looking at 21-22. After the new year, we'll start processing for 22-23. So that means when you log in, you'll be able to select the school year 22-23, and then it'll give you your correct checklist. So in this case, we have the FAFSA. The next step is to complete required documents. And what I want to point out is you'll see that this is highlighted in yellow, which means we cannot update your award letter. So you need to make sure everything is green, as in completed, so that you can view your award letter. So that's why it's really important you're checking your COD email, because we're going to email you saying, hey, we've updated your financial aid self-service. There's documents you need to do. And then logging into your My Access to actually see what those documents are. Now, I also want to point out, we're going to be offering scholarships for our fall semester that'll be opening up in January. So you would go to cod.academicworks.com. In the right-hand corner, you would sign in with your MyAccess username and your MyAccess password. And it would take you to a general application where you're going to answer questions about yourself so the Academic Works program can kind of create a profile of who you are as a student, what your interests are. Maybe you're a first-generation student, whether you're a freshman, a graduating high school senior, so that the Academic Works program can go through all of our scholarships and match you up with scholarship opportunities that fit you as a student. Our fall scholarships will open January 15th, and they'll close March 31st. So next month, you're really going to start, doing a lot of the financial aid paperwork. Then we offer spring scholarships September 1st through November 1st. Now you're going to notice these deadline dates are very early. So even though our fall semester doesn't start until August, we actually start processing and awarding financial aid in January, February, March. So even before you've graduated high school, it is possible that you're going to start getting notifications of what your financial aid awards are, provided you start the financial aid process early. Right? And that brings me up to the timeline. So this month and next month, really what we want to make sure you're focusing on is file that 22-23 FAFSA or alternative application for Illinois financial aid. Make sure the admission application is complete, set up your MyAccess, set up your COD email. So from a financial aid point of view, this month and next month is when you're going to really start doing all that prep work to get you in time for processing. Then January, February, and March, you're going to start applying for scholarships. So again, January 15th to March 31st is when you're going to apply. Start checking your COD email weekly if you have not already started, because we're going to start notifying you as we get your FAFSA information in. Make sure you're checking your MyAccess and clicking on financial aid self-service to complete any outstanding documents. Review your offer letter if there's anything out there to complete. Complete any steps you need to do for your direct loans. Start attending, those virtual financial aid webinars so you start to know more information about the financial aid process. Then in April and May, that's when you're going to start registering for classes. You're going to set up a payment plan so you don't get dropped from your classes. You're going to continue to check your COD email address weekly. Again, making sure there's no outstanding documents, making sure everything's submitted, making sure your offer letter is good to go. So over the next couple months, you're really going to start to get really more involved with your email, with your MyAccess. But right now for December and January, get all that prep stuff in place. Get the FAFSA filed, get your admission application filed. So when we start processing after the new year, you're knowing everything that's going to be awarded to you well before you graduate high school and well before when you're ready to register for classes, because we don't want you to miss out on that perfect schedule because you missed a step when it comes to financial aid. And then finally, if you have questions, you can always contact us. You can call us or email us, or you can follow us on social media. So we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So we try to keep you up to date with all things financial aid as well. So right now, I'm going to throw it back to Rio.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate all of that wonderful information. And as I mentioned before, that MyAccess username and password is so important. So I want to use this time to also make a note that I did get a question in the Q&A as I was speaking, or as Jennifer was speaking about resetting your College of DuPage email password. Please be mindful that the College of DuPage email password is going to be the same email password or the same password as your MyAccess account. So if you need to reset your email password, it's just like resetting your MyAccess password. If you're having problems, always contact your admission representative and then we can get you straight away. We also have a student help desk hotline that you can call. Most of the time, a lot of the reasons why people get confused is that the profile that you created to do your application has a separate email and password, and that's not the same as your MyAccess account. So whatever system and portal you use to sign up for this event. Remember, that is just your application portal and password. For all of the things that we're talking about today, whether it's My Access, whether it's scholarship and email, it's always going to be your My Access information. So I hope that helps a little bit with clarifying how to set passwords and what logins to use. So now I am wanting to talk a little bit more about our Scholars Award program. Since we had financial aid, just talk about scholarships and FAFSA, I wanted to make sure we use this time to highlight the Scholars Award, which is a really wonderful merit-based scholarship that we've had a lot of students benefit from, including some of the student ambassadors that you guys see on the screen. Before I hand it over to them, I wanted to share the requirements and criteria to become eligible for the Scholars Award program. We are looking for students in the District 502. So if you are a graduate of any of our in-district high schools and have a GPA of a 3.5 out of a 4 or a 4.375 out of a 5 with strong writing skills, you'll be able to apply for the Scholars Award through our COD Academic Works program. So Ian, Ellie, Austin, if you guys could talk a little bit about how you've learned about the Scholars Award program and also how you applied for it and what benefits you guys are using with receiving the Scholars Award program.
Yeah, so my academic advisor actually helped me like navigate the general COD scholarship portal, which is what I did apply for. And I ended up being a Board of Trustees recipient, which, as you can see, is $2,500 per year, which really helped me out because I do have to pay for books, which is an additional cost. So it really reduced the cost of school. I would say the application process is simple in terms of the amount of items you have to complete, but I will say that the essay is super important. Starting your essay ahead of time and really putting thought into it can benefit you and is a big part of what scholarship you'll actually end up receiving. I recommend asking family members or friends advice on how you can improve your paper and work on it over time instead of like having it a last minute task. And lastly, I'd advise that you keep the scholarship deadlines in mind and you plan accordingly so you're giving yourself enough time to really put thought into the process. But overall, the award that I received has really helped me throughout the past 2 years at COD, and I definitely recommend that you apply for these scholarships because it can really reduce your costs for sure. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Austin. I'm also a Scholars Award recipient. I found out about the Scholars Program just by doing my own personal research. I knew that whatever school I wanted to attend, I wanted to take advantage of all the scholarship opportunities that were available. So with that being said, after I applied to College of DuPage, I searched just on a Google search, College of DuPage Scholars Opportunities. It took me to the COD website, which has a whole tab about these scholarships that are available. And then from there, I was taken to the scholarship portal, which Jennifer was talking about, with all the different scholarships that are available to students based on their specific needs. I did apply for the General Scholars program, and I'm a Presidential Scholars Award recipient, which means I have 2 years of full in-district tuition. Obviously, this has helped me and my family so much. I have 2 younger brothers who are going to school very shortly, so it takes a large financial burden off my parents. And I would just recommend, even if you don't think you'd be the type of person to be eligible for a scholarship, apply. There are so many out there. You wouldn't even believe the type of scholarships that COD awards. And I just think if you take a chance, it'll take you a couple hours to, really get a good application started. So if you just apply and take that chance, the odds of you being rewarded in the future are super high. And I would just truly recommend taking a look at all the opportunities we offer here.
Yep. Thanks for that, Austin. Yeah, so similar to Austin, I heard about the scholarships after I had applied to the college. I was just looking on the website and I was able to see, oh, there's a Scholars Award program. So I applied to that. I would say my biggest tip is get your essay done as early as possible, because the scholarships, I mean, these are really valuable scholarships, so they are pretty selective. So it's important that you get it done as soon as possible and really make the essay as high quality as possible as well.
Thanks, ambassadors. That's some wonderful tips that you're giving. And, you know, a couple of like logistical tips. It's really also important, in addition to getting your essay and, you know, second eyes and having it edited, you know, you will need to have your own copy of a transcript. So some of the scholarships that a lot of four-year universities provide, when you send your scholarship through Naviance or Parchment, many times the scholarships at a four-year university will have access to your transcript to review your GPA. However, our COD Academics portal will require you to upload your transcripts. So it's good to get an official copy on your hard drive to be able to upload it to the scholarship portal. So I guess lastly, Ian, Austin, Ellie, any other tips about like what documents they should have on hand in order to use it with the portal? Like, did you find that to be, you know, a little different from some of the other universities that you applied to? Or, you know, like who did you ask to get these transcripts? How did you get the transcripts to submit to COD scholars?
So with my experience, I had to get in contact with my high school counselor again. So I emailed my high school counselor and requested a copy of my transcripts for a scholarship. And he was super helpful and got them to me right away. Other than that, I didn't really need any other documents. It's kind of just, a lot of it is just on the scholars website, everything that you have to fill out. The only two documents they need is the PDF of your essay and then the PDF copy of your transcripts.
Okay, thank you, ambassadors. We'll be seeing you guys in a little bit later when we do other Q&A. So again, really helpful tips that the ambassadors can give you in regards to setting yourself up for success with applying for scholarships. And again, the Scholars Award is just one of hundreds of scholarships that COD offers in the fall. We also offer a second opportunity to apply for scholarships through the Academic Works portal for the spring's term. But the Scholars Award is definitely one that we want to make sure that students are aware of. So I kind of touched about the transcripts and how different submitting your transcripts are. Again, COD, unlike a four-year university, since we're open enrollment, we don't need you to submit your transcripts at the time of your application. And especially for those of you who are here with your COD ID number and already admitted to the college, you'll notice that we didn't ask for transcripts at the time of application. So we will, however, recommend that the scholarships or the transcripts be sent specifically, you know, after this fall semester, and for sure once you graduate. You can get your official transcripts sent by contacting your school's registrar. Sometimes your Parchment or Naviance already is set up to send official transcripts. However, just remember that it's not needed for admission purposes. You will need your own PDF format to upload it for scholarship opportunities. Also, for standardized tests, SATs and ACTs were not required either for admission. However, they will be reviewed for placement test waivers. So students with a 950 or higher on your SAT or a 20 or higher on your ACT them pay, having you yourself pay for the scores to be sent officially to the college, COD will accept a downloaded score report from the College Board website or ACT.org website, and you can send those transcripts in to, or the SAT or ACT scores in through Campus Central at cod.edu. For students who may have taken advanced placement exams and scored a 3 or better, those scores may be the equivalent to credit hours that can be applied towards your COD education. So in order for us to evaluate your scores to see how they would place in terms of credit hours at the college, you will need to send your official advanced placement exam scores via College Board to our records office. So you'll need to go back into your College Board account and make sure those scores are sent to us officially. So I mentioned about the ACT and SAT scores placing students out of the reading and writing placement test. So just to go into it a little bit further, placement testing is critical for students taking general education courses such as English composition, social science classes, math, regular science classes. So right now, the placement tests, there's 3 major ones: reading, writing, and math. Please note that if you have to take placement tests, these are free. There's no payment to take placement tests at all. If you need accommodations like having a different format for your placement test to be provided to you, whether you need an isolated room as opposed to using the testing labs, you can always request for accommodations by going to access@cod.edu. So for the reading and writing placement exam, we do waive them out of students who have received a 950 or higher on their SAT or a 20 or higher on their ACT. We also look at your GPA. So if you have a GPA overall cumulative of a 2.6 over a 4 or a 3.75 out of a 5, that cumulative GPA can also be used to exempt you from the reading and writing portion of the placement test. Keep in mind that there might be some criteria that need to be met in terms of if a student has a class that is designated ELL or a class that is designated special ed, the GPA may not be used in order to be waived out. However, you can ask your admission representative for more information. Students who are ELL students or ESL students, there is a reading and writing kite English placement exam, and students who may have completed TOEFL exams can use those TOEFL scores to be also exempt from the reading and writing placement test. However, if you find that you don't meet the criteria for any of the placement tests that I've mentioned for reading and writing, there will be a guided self-placement that you will also find within your My Access account profile. And that will be used to, again, determine some social sciences and English composition level classes. Now, math is a different subject. Math has a little bit harder times to get waived out of. So unless you are a student that has an AP exam in a math category of a 3 or higher, most likely you will need to use and take the ALEX Math Placement Test. The ALEX Math Placement Test is a 2-part exam, which will require you to have access to the Inside COD portal. The first part of the ALEX exam is done at home within the website, and basically the first part is a practice exam which gauges your math understanding. You do have 4 attempts at doing the at-home part 1 before going to the ALEX Placement Test 2, which is done on campus. The ALEX Placement Test 2 is going to have the score that will be used for meeting with a counselor to determine what math level you could start with once you want to start registering for classes at COD. The highest college level math that you can be placed into with the ALEKS exam is Calculus 1. If you are a student that's in this session that's looking to enroll into engineering pathways, keep in mind that that will be a requirement. So despite having a score of a 5 on your AP Calc BC or AP exam, you will still need to take the full ALEKS placement test in order to be considered for the engineering pathways program. Something else to keep in mind for the ALEKS math placement test, when you go into the portal, you'll see that it talks about ALEKS placement test 2, 3, and 4. 3 and 4 are optional exams. These are for students who take test 2 and would like to maybe improve their score. That will also require to coming into campus at any of our testing locations. These are proctored exams, so don't worry, don't feel like you have to take the ALEKS placement test a bunch of times. We really just need the test 1, which is done at home, and then test 2, which is done in one of our testing centers. And that is because the testing centers will provide the proctored exam. So this is going to be a breakdown of what the ALEKS math placement test website looks like, and also the steps. So again, I mentioned that COD portal. This is going to use that critical My Access username and password. You'll be able to find test 1, and you would be able to do this test 1 at home. You can make sure that it is uninterrupted, make sure that you are, not using a calculator, because again, test 1 is essentially a practice exam, which really is just kind of gauging your math understanding. Upon completion of test 1, that's when you can take test 2 at any of our 5 testing locations. This test 2 is going to be proctored, and once the results are in, that will allow you to go ahead and make that appointment with someone from counseling and advising to go over your transcripts, your standardized test scores, your ALEKS placement test scores, and start helping you pick out your general education classes for COD. So for students that are graduating early, that want to take classes starting in January 24th, which is next month, that's for the spring 2022, you want to make sure that you've taken all of the tests, submitted your transcripts, contacted, your admission representatives if you need some clarifying questions. But the appointments are being done now, and they're able to register you for classes now. For those of you who aren't looking to start yet until next summer or fall, you have some time. So a lot of the steps that we've been talking about in regards to your scholarships, your placement testing, submitting your critical scores, you are encouraged to start working on that process from now and up until registration opens up, which for fall 22, registration actually opens up at the end of April. So you have some time, but we also encourage students to be aware of these open registration dates so they can have first dibs on classes, class times, and also popular teachers. Basically, the longer you wait to take your tests, to meet with an advisor, the more classes can fill up. And we do try to encourage students to register for classes, earlier than later, so they don't have to worry about a lot of barriers that come up with students that wait till the last minute. Counseling and advising, they do meet by appointment. They'll make sure that in your student record that you have the appropriate scores and tests submitted before giving you an actual exam, an actual time. And counseling and advising, they are meeting with students via Zoom and also in person. So switching gears, for students that have an IEP or a 504 plan, we want to introduce the Center for Access and Accommodations. This is the department that will help you to navigate the different accommodations that you can receive in high school. The biggest difference is that you do have to self-advocate. The accommodations are also different as well. Some common accommodations that COD students can receive during their time at COD include extended test time, preferential seating in a classroom, possibly having the test read to them or an isolated room. These accommodations are free. However, you will need to make the appropriate arrangements with your professors. There won't be co-teachers in the class. The IEP and 504 paperwork do not automatically get sent upon graduation. So you want to make sure that before you start classes at COD, that you make an appointment with the Center for Access and Accommodations. The information is at access@cod.edu. You can also find their information online. You will be able to request an intake appointment, and that is how they'll review your paperwork from high school and also give you the appropriate steps to contact your instructors and get you more familiar with the accommodations that you can receive during your time at COD. So once you have met with your advisors, selected the class times, and register for your classes, you can use and register for classes using My Access. We do have payment plan options. So students who receive financial aid and scholarship, those funds will show up and you'll be able to accept them through My Access account. However, if you are a student that may not have qualified for financial aid, may not have qualified for scholarships, but would like some assistance in paying your tuition, we do have payment options based on the time of registration. So the sooner you register for your classes, the smaller the down payment will be. The closer you get to the start of classes and your registration, the larger the down payment will be. Our payment plans are interest-free, and there is an opportunity to sign up for them within your My Access account. And what you see here is just an example of the payment schedule. So again, students who register for classes sooner than later will have a smaller down payment, and then the remaining balance will be broken up throughout the rest of the year. So purchasing textbooks and supplies, once you have actually narrowed down your classes and your teachers, that specific class will have a section number, which will then be matched up to the textbooks needed for that exam, for that class. You can always find your textbooks within My Access, but also by contacting our bookstore. You'll be able to shop by student ID, or by the course. Again, we have some scholarships as well that you can apply for that goes towards books, but for the most part, you can save a lot of money by also renting your books, which has become a really popular option over the years. And then lastly, attending new student orientation. New student orientation is going to be done usually close to the beginning of the semester. And our new student orientation is an opportunity for students to really get to know student life at COD. Many times students are concerned that because there isn't any housing, there's no dorms, that student life is non-existent, but that is definitely not the case. I actually want to ask by student ambassadors that attended new student orientation during their time to maybe chime in to talk a little bit about their new student orientation experience. Let's see. So yes, Luis, thank you so much. Tell me a little bit about what to expect during new student orientation.
Well, yeah, the most important thing is that new student orientation is just kind of a way for new students to feel a connection to the college. Like they go and they just kind of get the chance to meet a lot of other students. They get to, get a lot of information about the college and learn about a lot of different clubs and organizations and support services for students. So it's just kind of a very unique way for you to be introduced to the college. And I went to New Student Orientation. I've also been part of New Student Orientation through our orientation leader program. And it's just a great way for students to get a lot of different leadership skills. But again, like first step is to go to your New Student Orientation because it does give you a lot of information that can help you here at your college career. But yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you, Luis. I appreciate that. We had to change the new student orientation format this previous year, virtual, but we will be able to hopefully have things on campus once things start opening up. And things are starting to open up. Next semester, we are looking to have 75% of our classes in person. However, keep in mind for students, who might still feel comfortable doing classes online, that's still going to be an option for students. So we are promoting the fact that students can take a combination of classes in person and online, as opposed, and also a lot of our events are also slowly coming back to campus. So just a quick overview of some of the websites that we talked about, and especially the websites that use My Access as a login. You can find a lot of the information and a lot of the websites that I talked about during this presentation by going to the COD website and hitting quick links. So again, this is where you can go directly to the My Access page. You can go directly to the website to sign into your College of DuPage email. Once you become a student, a lot of the classes are going to be run through Blackboard. So Blackboard is where students will be able to access their syllabus. This is where a lot of the teachers will also send official communication. For a lot of our online classes, Blackboard is also the way the lectures are being offered. So lastly, if you have any questions, I know this information was quite a bit, and if you need some navigation, especially when it comes to the placement testing and knowing what you're eligible for, it's recommended that you reach out to your admission representative. I have some schools that you can see: Addison Trail, Neuqua Valley, but my other coworkers, Elizabeth Gomez de la Casa and Stephanie Locansol, they are the admission representatives for the other area high schools. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out. I actually included the link in the chat for how to find your specific admission representative by clicking on your high school. So now I would like to make sure that we've answered all of your questions, or hopefully clarified some lingering questions. I'm going to ask that all of the ambassadors, as well as Jennifer, if you can join me on, by opening up your cameras. We're going to use this time, now that we've completed the presentation, to do our Q&A portion. So again, if you have questions, anything that we've covered in terms of the next steps or financial aid, please use this time to ask away. If your application was accidentally non-degree seeking and you want to apply for pathways to engineering, what should the status be and how do I change it? I've tried online, but it doesn't stay changed. Okay, so I will answer that question as I am the engineering pathways admission representative. So if you had put non-degree seeking, the biggest thing is we want to make sure that, and Jennifer, you can correct me, especially if you were looking for financial aid, you do want to make sure that you change your status. The best way that is recommended to change your program is by going through the records office link. You can actually go to the records page and basically do a program change information. Jennifer, any recommendations, or I can, if you have any tips, I can try to put on the link to that website.
And that's what I was just doing. So I found the link.
Oh, okay, great.
I'll go ahead and put that in for everyone. So yes, to receive financial aid, you do have to be a degree seeking student. So if you are undecided, which I think majority of students that come to college at DuPage are undecided, basically what you're coming to COD to do is your general education classes, your English, your math, your speech, your science, which is what an associate's degree is, whether it's an associate of arts, if you're leaning more towards liberal arts, or an associate of science, if you're leaning towards more like a science degree. So I did put in the chat the link to the records office where you can update your academic program. And it's not uncommon for students to change their degree program. So don't feel like, well, I committed to one, I need to stay to it. Through the financial aid office, we see students that change it, pretty often because, through the community college, what you want to do may change. But for financial aid, you need to make sure that you have some sort of degree listed, even if it's a general associate of arts or an associate of science degree.
Thank you, Jennifer. I know we have a couple more questions that popped up, but I wanted to make sure that if you are an engineering pathways applicant, we would just recommend to put Associate of Engineering Science. You can be undecided. If you put in under the career pathway STEM, and you'll see engineering as an option, putting an Associate of Engineering Science will give you opportunities to get marketing communication for engineering pathway sessions that we'll be hosting before the application. However, the general application for COD, the critical part about getting admitted to engineering pathways is being able to access the math placement test and submit your transcripts. So it's just a suggested thing since we do have it AES as an option, but if you do undecided, you won't be penalized for it. It's just in order to be able to qualify for scholarships, you need to make sure that you are a degree seeking student. Does COD have a list of four-year schools that accept credits? Now, this is something that we get a lot of. You will find that COD credits are accepted anywhere. There isn't such a list because there are so many colleges that are a part of it. I mean, we do have transfer opportunities that are highlighted, such as a 3+1 or engineering pathways, but a way to see about classes and the transferability of community college classes to universities are two websites, itransfer.org or transferology.com. I want to ask student ambassadors that are still here, do you guys have any experience looking at those portals? And if so, can you unmute yourself and talk a little bit about it? I'm going to be putting those website links in the chat.
Yeah, so I actually do use Transferology to check if all of the classes I plan on registering for will be able to be transferred to University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, which is where I plan on attending after COD. It's definitely really important to make sure you are staying updated with all of that, just because it helps out knowing that you're taking classes that will be transferable to your four-year university. It's definitely important just because I have a couple friends who have to take an extra year of college because they weren't careful with making sure their classes were transferable. So definitely make sure you are taking that initiative to ensure your college future.
Yes, it's also good to know that we have a ton of four-year universities that come to campus to provide in-person sessions, workshops. Even myself, my history in college admissions was I started as a four-year university private school admission counselor, and I would come to College of DuPage and set up time to meet with COD students that were hoping to transfer to my school. So not only are there websites and links to places that you can look into this a little bit more, but there's always people and resources. So keep in mind where you are looking to graduate and transfer to. Start, building communications with those individuals and departments. A lot of universities do have transfer departments that are solely looking to help students transfer into their schools. So just don't be afraid to answer questions, ask questions. And then, so the last question that I see here is, if you aren't hoping to be considered an undergrad, but want to take 2 to 3 classes to receive from college credit, how do you set that up for when applying for classes? So you're going to be an undergrad unless you are going for your master's degrees or your doctorate program. Basically, the classes that are being offered, especially the general education courses at a community college, are undergrad level status classes. So you don't necessarily have to be going to school full time, but the classes that we offer at College of DuPage are always going to be considered undergrad classes, especially those that are, college credit courses. Now, keep in mind, if you are looking for like a certificate program, like going into HVAC or culinary, those are still college level classes, so they're still considered undergrad level courses. So I think when you're asking about the 2 to 3 classes and whether you're being given an undergrad level status, it's, the classes that you're taking here at a community college, they're for college credit, and the classes itself are undergrad level. So thank you again. We are now at 10 a.m. and I really appreciate everyone's time and attention. We hope that the session was helpful for you. So if you do have any questions, feel free to contact your specific admission representative. Student ambassadors, thank you guys so much for your time, your helpful insight, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend.